I feel like you probably think of the future as this horizon line, right? Something blurry and like really distant.
Yeah, it's safely far away.
Exactly. You look out, you see the faint outline of, I don't know, sentient robots or fully autonomous cities, and you just point at it and tell yourself, well, that's coming someday. Someday, but definitely not
It
today.
acts as a psychological buffer, honestly.
Right, so you don't have to deal with the immediate implications of those technologies right this second. But, I mean, if you look at the digest of artificial intelligence news from today, which is July 5, 2026, you realize that Horizon is currently sitting right in your living room.
Oh, the buffer is entirely gone. We are standing in the middle of a real-time paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the raw data rolling in just this morning, we are clearly past the era of those, iterative background software updates.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to strip away the abstract sci-fi hype surrounding AI and really look at a single, highly dense source, which is today's Tech Digest.
And it highlights 4 major breakthroughs.
Right, it's exactly 4. We are looking at how this technology is actively reshaping your physical safety, your internal biology, your emotional landscape, and, your daily logistics.
All happening today.
All today. So we are starting straight out on the asphalt. Autonomous vehicles.
Oh, wow. Yeah. A sector that has notoriously overpromised and underdelivered for, well, the better part of a decade.
Totally.
I mean, the industry has been stuck at this 90-something% reliability mark for years, which, sounds impressive until you realize that remaining single-digit margin of error is where collisions actually happen.
Which is exactly why the lead story in today's digest is just so staggering. A major tech firm just announced a new AI system that slashes the object detection error rate by 40%.
40%.
Yeah. A 40% reduction in false positives and false negatives. I mean, that is a massive structural leap.
It really is. But to understand the magnitude of that leap, we kind of have to look at the mechanism behind it. Historically, autonomous vehicles struggled with sensor fusion. The car has LiDAR, radar, optical cameras, all pulling in just massive amounts of data.
Right, all at once.
Exactly. And the computational bottleneck was always latency. Just getting the system to merge a LiDAR point cloud with a high-resolution video feed fast enough to make a split-second driving decision.
Like deciding whether to brake or swerve.
Exactly. But this new neural network architecture fundamentally changes how that data is processed at the edge, meaning directly within the car's localized computer, without relying on cloud processing.
So instead of just upgrading the physical camera lens, this new architecture is essentially upgrading the car's visual cortex.
That's a great way to put it.
Think about the computational weight of that. It's moving from a system that has to manually and sequentially cross-reference every single pixel of some weird shadow to figure out if it's a solid object.
Which takes precious milliseconds.
Right. Moving from that to a system that processes a crystal clear 4K optical feed instantly. It intuitively knows the difference between a child chasing a ball into the street, which is a critical hazard, and, I don't know, an empty plastic bag blowing across the asphalt.
And that distinction is everything. Decreasing the false positive rate means the car stops phantom braking for that plastic bag, which, by the way, is a major cause of rear-end collisions.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Right. And simultaneously, dropping the false negative rate means it doesn't fail to register the pedestrian stepping off the curb. By solving that sensor fusion latency, the math on road safety literally changes overnight.
It translates directly to smoother, safer rides for you, the passenger, in the very near future.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is the immediate ripple effect on the regulatory landscape.
I would imagine regulators are suddenly paying very close attention because the usual roadblock for this tech is the government demanding absolute proof of safety before these cars can, scale up on public roads.
Yeah, and the digest actually notes a profound optimism among regulators this morning. But, and there's always a but, this introduces a completely different bottleneck.
Which is
the infrastructure. The technology is finally achieving the necessary clarity, but our civil infrastructure is entirely analog. Like, how does a city's legacy traffic grid even communicate with this hyper-advanced neural network?
Oh, wow. Right.
Or how do insurance liability frameworks adapt when the human is no longer the driver?
Yeah.
You're just a passenger in a system that is statistically way safer than you are.
Mm.
The real hurdle now is building a legal and societal framework that can actually accommodate this level of machine accuracy.
That exact tension, proving a highly complex, completely opaque system is foolproof to regulators and the public. That is exactly what's holding up the next major leap in the
Oh,
digest.
yes.
Because we are moving from AI reading our physical environment out on the streets to AI reading our cellular biology.
Right, applying that same pattern recognition logic to medical diagnostics. If it can spot a pedestrian, it can spot a diseased cell.
Exactly. The digest highlights a new machine learning diagnostic tool for early cancer detection. And it is identifying microscopic malignancies far earlier than traditional methods.
Which is incredible.
It is. We all know early detection is the absolute key to survival. But I have to, push back a little on the hype surrounding this.
Okay, sure.
The source emphasizes that this requires, quote, rigorous testing and validation. When we are talking about integrating what is essentially a black box neural network into standard medical practice where lives are on the line, how do you actually validate that?
That's the defining friction point in medical AI right now. The system is a black box. A convolutional neural network doesn't generate a report explaining its deductive reasoning to the oncologist.
Right.
It just outputs a probability score based on millions of parameters we can't easily parse.
Wait, but if the doctor doesn't know how the AI arrived at the conclusion, how do they know the AI isn't just, overfitting the data?
Exactly the right question.
What if the neural net just learned to associate the presence of a specific hospital's watermark on an X-ray with a higher rate of cancer rather than actually spotting a tumor? How do we test for that?
That phenomenon is exactly why the medical field requires a virtually zero-tolerance margin of error. You combat overfitting through massive, highly diversified, double-blind clinical trials.
So not just running more data through a computer?
No, rigorous testing doesn't mean just feeding it more data in a lab. It means running this AI silently alongside human doctors in real-world hospitals for years.
Silently.
Yeah, the AI makes its predictions, but those predictions are kept hidden from the attending physicians, so it doesn't bias their human judgment. Then you track the actual patient outcomes over 3, 5, or 10 years.
Wow. So you're essentially overlaying the AI's track record on top of reality after the fact.
Precisely. You have to prove that the machine is seeing something human eyes physically cannot see. I mean, a human radiologist is subject to visual fatigue, right?
Sure, they get tired.
But this machine learning model is overlaying thousands of historical scans on top of the patient's current scan. Think of it like looking for a single typo in a library of books.
Okay.
A human has to read every single page. The AI can mathematically overlay every page on top of a master copy and instantly highlight the 1 millimeter where the ink doesn't perfectly align.
That's a wild analogy.
But the clinical trials are the only way to prove the AI highlighted a real typo and not just a smudge on the scanner glass,
Because a false positive in this scenario subjects a patient to unnecessary, brutal treatments. And a false negative is lethal.
Right. Validation is the necessary bridge here. The technology is described in the digest as a, quote, beacon of hope, but a doctor has to trust it enough to deliver a life-altering diagnosis, and a patient has to trust it enough to base their survival strategy on it.
So we have AI reading our streets and AI reading our cells, but the digest takes a really fascinating pivot here.
It really does.
It turns out AI is also starting to read our immediate physiological state to alter our emotional environment. We are looking at the creative arts now.
Yeah, this section of the News Digest illustrates a shift from rigid, objective analysis into the deeply subjective realm of human experience.
Here's where it gets really interesting. An AI-powered platform just launched that generates dynamic music compositions that adapt to your mood in real time.
Real time?
Yeah, it analyzes biometric inputs, so your heart rate variability, galvanic skin response, even micro-expressions captured by your device's camera to craft a personalized soundtrack on the fly.
It's wild.
It's not magic, though. It's a real-time API pinging your smartwatch sensors and dynamically altering a MIDI file's tempo, key, and instrumentation.
Creating a closed biological feedback loop.
Yes. Imagine having, a tiny Hans Zimmer living inside your smartwatch, just scoring your Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
You are out for a run, you hit a steep incline, the watch registers a spike in your heart rate and the physical strain on your face. The AI instantly dials up the tempo, drops in a driving percussive stem, and just pushes you up the hill.
And then
30 minutes later, you're back home, your heart rate drops, your breathing slows, and the music seamlessly transitions into this sweeping, ambient string arrangement to help you decompress.
So the AI is reading your body to modulate the auditory environment, and that auditory environment, in turn, regulates your nervous system.
Exactly.
But this fusion of algorithmic generation and artistic expression is generating massive pushback.
Oh, I would imagine traditional musicians are absolutely furious.
They are. This raises an important question, and it's a very specific philosophical debate highlighted in the digest. Critics argue that AI-generated music inherently lacks human emotional depth.
Okay, because it's a machine.
Right. Their argument is that art is a deliberate communication of the human condition. A machine hasn't experienced grief or joy. It only knows mathematically that a minor chord progression correlates with a furrowed brow and a lowered heart rate.
Yeah, it's just matching a physiological data point to an acoustic frequency. There is zero intentionality behind the notes.
That is the core of the criticism. But supporters of this technology view it as a completely new frontier of artistic expression, one that actually centers the human more than ever before.
Wait, I'm really struggling to see how outsourcing the composition to a microchip centers the human.
Because the listener is no longer just a passive consumer of a static audio file. Your biological responses are the instrument.
Oh, wow.
The AI is merely the medium translating your physical state into sound. I mean, if art is about exploring the self, what is more profound than listening to a real-time auditory reflection of your own subconscious nervous system?
Oh, yeah, that's heavy.
It proves the technology is transcending traditional logic-based tasks and moving into fluid emotional resonance.
It paints a wild picture of the near future for you as a listener. You're riding in an autonomous car that perfectly navigates the physical world while listening to a biometric soundtrack that perfectly mirrors the exact level of awe you're feeling as you watch the sunset out the window.
It is an intensely curated reality.
Truly.
A reality entirely built on the machine's ability to interpret human intent. Which, by the way, transitions perfectly into the final segment of today's digest. If an AI can parse your microexpressions to intuit your mood, parsing your spoken intent to solve complex logistical problems is the logical next step.
Right. We are talking about the rise of natural language processing, or NLP, in the corporate customer service sector.
Yes.
The Digest cites a study showing this massive adoption of AI-driven chatbots that are handling highly complex queries, managing massive volumes of inquiries simultaneously, and drastically reducing wait times.
And it is critical, really critical, to differentiate these new NLP systems from the clunky, frustrating chatbots we've all been dealing with for the last decade.
Please do, because I think everyone listening has a shared trauma of yelling the word representative into their phone after pressing 0 a dozen times.
Oh, absolutely.
Businesses might be reporting boosted customer satisfaction metrics in this digest, but does handling a, quote, complex query actually mean we are moving past the era of endlessly pressing 0 to speak to a human? Does the machine really understand what I want?
Yes. And here's why. The old chatbots you are referencing operated on basic keyword matching. If you typed the word refund, the system triggered a pre-written, rigid script about the refund policy.
Right.
It had no capacity to differentiate between the sentence, "I need a refund because this arrived shattered," and "How many days does a refund take?" It only saw the isolated keyword.
Which inevitably led to a dead end, forcing you into a queue to speak to a human who could actually understand the context.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, modern natural language processing doesn't look for keywords at all. It maps language into a multidimensional vector space.
Wait, vector space? Like mathematically?
Yes. Every word, phrase, and sentence is converted into a mathematical coordinate. In this space, words with similar semantic meanings cluster together. This allows the AI to calculate the geometric distance between concepts.
Wow.
Which means it can genuinely parse context, nuance, and even your level of frustration.
So it's not just following some pre-programmed dialogue tree, it's mathematically calculating the underlying intent of my entire paragraph.
Exactly. Combined with what are called self-attention mechanisms, the AI can weigh the importance of different words in your sentence against each other.
Okay, give me an example.
So if you type, "I need to change my flight to Tuesday, but only if the layover is less than an hour, and can I use my reward miles for the upgrade?" A keyword bot would completely break down.
It would immediately route you to a human, creating that 30-minute hold time.
But an advanced NLP system processes all those multi-layered constraints simultaneously. It understands the relationship between Tuesday, layover, and reward miles. It cross-references the airline's live database, calculates the optimal route, applies your points, and executes the complex transaction in like 3 seconds.
That is insane.
It fundamentally transforms customer service from a massive corporate bottleneck into a high-speed efficiency engine.
And that completely explains the spike in customer satisfaction metrics. I mean, when your flight gets canceled, you don't actually want a deep, empathetic connection with a customer service rep. You just want the logistical nightmare solved instantly so you can get on with your life.
Exactly. Reducing that friction is incredibly valuable. It is the systemic reduction of friction across the board.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive with a mission to look past the abstract theories of artificial intelligence and really examine the concrete realities outlined in today's news digest. We've seen how edge computing and sensor fusion are driving a 40% leap in autonomous vehicle safety, fundamentally altering how we move through our cities.
And we examined how machine learning is overlaying vast data sets to spot microscopic anomalies in our biology, pioneering life-saving early diagnostics, provided, of course, the clinical trials validate their opaque logic.
Yep. We explored the incredible and, somewhat controversial frontier of biometric AI, reading our heart rates to dynamically compose the soundtracks of our lives. And finally, we looked at how multidimensional vector space and natural language processing is untangling our most frustrating logistical headaches.
The overarching takeaway for the listener from these 4 developments is that artificial intelligence is no longer an isolated software tool you actively choose to open on your computer.
No.
It is rapidly becoming the invisible infrastructure of reality. It is mediating physical danger, biological threats, emotional resonance, and daily logistics all simultaneously.
The buffer we used to rely on, that comforting idea that the future is a distant horizon, is completely gone. The technology is here, operating in the background of your life right now.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought for you to carry forward today. If these systems are already capable of mapping our language to solve complex logistical problems in seconds, and reading our facial expressions to alter our moods in real time, how long until this infrastructure begins to anticipate and solve our emotional and logistical needs before we even consciously realize we have them?
That's the real question. When the machine knows what you need before you do, the fundamental nature of human decision-making changes.
And when that happens, how will that alter our own sense of human agency? Definitely something to ponder the next time you seamlessly glide through traffic, or let the tiny Hans Zimmer in your watch score the rest of your afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We love unpacking these dense sources and finding the mechanisms beneath the headlines. Stay curious, stay informed, and we will catch you next time.